Okay, so say your name, where you're from, and your fancy tool.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Charlie. I'm from the BCSPCA, and a couple of cool tools that I've recently been using.
Charlie's also one of the presenters at our fancy conference on the 11th.
Hey. Only 25 tickets left. I just was at a conference and we talked a lot about the importance of SEO. Can everybody hear me okay? So there's this great free tool called Barbie.com. It's really great. You literally just put in your web page. So I'll put in our home page. Wait 15 to 45 seconds, and it will give you some results about
What is SEO?
SEO is search engine optimization. So if you want to get to that front page of Google, it's really, really important that you have really quality SEO. So if you want people to find your site, this is a really, really, really important thing. So if you don't already have a great brand, I'm really lucky to have a great brand with the SPCA, but not everyone is so lucky. So if you're newer, or if you just want to improve your search results, this is a great tool for that. And this is great because we have things to improve. So it flags little things like tap target too small, knowing that. So that means we need to work on our mobile. Our mobile traffic is up to 64% right now, so it's really important to pay attention to these little details. There's also some accessibility, so this is really great tool for if your nonprofit serves people with different abilities. So you want to make sure that it's accessible for everyone. Your page speed is super important. People wait about 5 seconds, and if your page doesn't load, they just give up a lot of the time. So it's really important to pay attention to that, and it kind of gives you a little roadmap on how to adjust things. I don't even think I need the whole 5 minutes. It's just a really cool little tool that's totally free, and I think everyone should consider using it. And it's a really great tool for when you're talking to people that are building web pages that maybe aren't so web savvy. You can be like, why don't you check it out on the site, and you can see exactly how well it might be translating for people. So yeah, that's my little tool tip.
That's cool. Thank you.
I tested a couple of our websites while you were doing that, and I have homework, so thank you. That was really great. That was really great. I had no idea. Yeah. Jeff, you want to come on up?
Thanks. Go early so no one takes my suggestion.
Oh, yeah. So did you do a box walk there?
Yeah, that's all right.
So all you. So say where you're from and what you're going to show to me.
Hey everyone, my name's Jeff. I'm from Greenpeace International, and I'm the head of data and analytics for Greenpeace. So I like to automate things, and one of the big things I focus on at work is cognitive offloading. So trying to get things into systems so that you don't have to think about it all the time. So to-do lists are great, but often one of the biggest things with, say, stakeholder management or having to follow up with people in your team is having a to-do list that's like 1,000 follow-ups. I don't know if anyone has that problem. I haven't written a follow-up in my to-do list for a long time. Shouldn't be clicking on this. And that's because I use a tool called Boomerang for Gmail, which is really great. So it does a few different things. But the biggest thing for me is when you say you get an email, I'll just use that one I clicked on. And say, for example, this is an email from someone. I'm going to send them a response. I'll say, hey, Tim, please get back to me with this report, etc., whatever. And rather than putting it on my to-do list to follow up, you can go down here where it says boomerang this in 4 days if no reply. So I just tick this, and you can change it. So you could say 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever. And if the person doesn't reply to the email, it'll pop back into the top of your inbox. So it's really handy. So it automatically reminds you, I just sent this, and then basically forget about it. And if they don't get back to me it'll automatically remind me. So that's a pretty handy function. It also allows you to send later, so if you want to pretend like you're working at 11 o'clock at night, but you're not, you can do that. And I just found it as another function, which is pausing your email. So if you say want to focus for 3 hours, not on email, you can hit pause up here, and it'll block. I haven't used it, but and I got to set it up. But it'll block all incoming email until you unpause it. So it kind of like, it's one of that like self-management, self-facilitation things where if you need to stop the flow to focus. So I find that really useful. It really speeds things up with my to-do list and all that. That's it. Thanks.
Cool. Someone 3-minute demos. We're gonna have extra room.
Cheers. Very handy. I would probably just leave my email paused forever because of like a mental health. I'd be like, next year. We'll get to it next year. Okay. Oh, from this side of the room. You guys have been kind of quiet back there. Anything you want to share from this side of the room? Everyone's been really friendly so far. Tanya, all right. All right, please welcome one of our many volunteers, the NetSquared to Tanya.
Hi, I'm Tanya.
Yay!
I work with the Engineers and Geoscientists BC, but the tool that I'm going to share today on is called Canva, and I don't use it so much there, but I use it a lot personally and for past jobs. Canva is a graphic design program for people who have no idea how to do graphic design. So if part of your job is doing social media images or adding a little flash to the website or anything that's graphic design and you think, I don't know anything about that and I don't know why colors look good together and I don't know how to design anything, this is the tool for you. So as you can see, I actually currently have all of my resumes and cover letters because I've been looking for work. And so I actually do all of my resumes and cover letters in Canva because it allows you to have a more stylized approach. But that is not how I use it for work. That's how I use it for myself. So essentially, you can design just about anything in it. You just would go create a design. And then it gives you a ton of templates for just about anything. So I have done, the top pick that I usually use for work was social media posts. So they have them already formatted for the sizes you need for Twitter, for sharing on Facebook, for the Facebook app. Also, if you scroll down, they have all of the headers. So if you need to make a header for your Facebook page, or event, if you need a Tumblr banner, if you need YouTube channel, pretty much everything, and all the sizes are already set for you, so you don't really have to do any work. So say you pick something, let's do a Twitter post, and it will then allow you to pretty much, you can either choose from their templates that they have, most of which are free, and then just alter it based on your own content. Or you can do it from scratch. I always use templates because like I said, I'm not great at this stuff. So I say pick something like this. And then along with having the templates, they also have free and pay for images and content. So I tend to use the free stuff or use my own stuff if it's related to the organization. But let's say you're trying to get people to donate school supplies. So you do like some supplies. Let's do school actually. School supplies. You take whatever image you want to use, you pop it into the back, and it automatically replaces it. And then you can just go in and edit your content. What did I just hit? I think I'm trying to figure out. Did I break it? No, there it goes. I just put this link. It might be, there we go. Sorry. So then you would just edit this to say, donate supplies. Anyways, it's just really super easy. And then you can change the font, color, so it stands out. Anyways, you can just play with it based both on using their templates or making your own. And I find it super easy to use, especially if you don't know what you're doing. And what's What's that?
That's a watermark.
A watermark? So anything that's paid, so say I chose one of their things that's requires payment to use it, it'll look like that, so it'll have the watermark on it. But you can add your own watermarks, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
You can also do that. I'm not exactly sure how, but I'm sure you can. Like I've pulled in like logos and things to stamp on the edges of them. That's our own logo, so that people know that it's our company.
Yeah, the transparency at the top.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the transparency. Yeah. And so generally just super easy. I highly recommend it. They have tons of tutorials. It's great.
Have you accessed the nonprofit account before?
I have not.
So you can get a nonprofit account where a ton of stuff that was paid becomes free.
Mm.
You get a team, and you can also upload all your brand fonts and your brand colors. So everything when the team joins you, you can share your designs, and the fonts are preloaded so everyone stays on brand.
Ah, well, see, there you
And
go.
the brand colors makes me look way more skilled than I am, because suddenly everything I do, it's like, oh, I'll hit this button, and I'm like, I'm on brand.
There you go. There's an even more top tip.
Do you want to repeat that just in case it didn't?
Oh yes, in case you didn't go for that. It was recommended that there is a nonprofit option, which will release a lot of the free stuff, or the paid stuff for free. So you should look into that, because then your team can all be on brand. It stores all of your data and information, fonts, colors, all of that.
Awesome, well, thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so far we have 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 people have gone so far. I would like to have at least 10. Yeah, come on down. I don't see your name tags. You're going to have to totally tell us who you are and what you're going to show us.
Okay, Pete Willie.
Hey Pete, feel free.
Unfortunately, I didn't set up the account, so what I'll just go over the product tour and tell you a little bit about it. It's a product called Hotjar, so you can see what people are actually doing on your website versus what you think they're doing on the website. And you would be surprised at what people do on your website and why they click in places that you think there is no reason whatsoever they should be clicking quite a lot. There's different plans. You pay basically by how many uniques you get a day. You've got personal, 2K for nothing, plus up to 10K, and then you can go up if you want business or agencies. It's basically by volume. And the big thing I like about it is the heat maps. So you can see by desktop, by tablet, by mobile, what they're, I don't know if you can see it there, but you can see what they're clicking on, moving, scrolling, how far down the page they go before they bail. So that can be pretty useful. You think that link that they should be clicking on, they're clicking on, and maybe they're not, they're clicking on something else. Down here, the visitor recording, so you can set it up so what's your main landing pages they're going to, and also you can do funnel recording, where they're going from point A to point B, where they're dropping off. They're trying to click on something that you think that you shouldn't be clicking on, and then you just add a link, and then, well, it's pretty handy. How long do they stay on the page? Where they're sort of scrolling with the mouse or their fingers, depending. It really makes it quite useful. You can also, here's the funnel stuff, so you can lay up the funnels and see where they drop off. and you can watch recordings. If you got forms, there's form analytics. You have too many tables in your form, you know, where are they dropping off, that sort of thing. Feedback polls, so you can put them all over your website, you can put them on specific pages, you can put them, I want it to show up after 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever. You can get really advanced on that. I just often use the basic, like, what would you do to improve this page? And some of it is, but some of it is actually really useful. The visual feedback, if you're into that. You can do surveys and recruit users to sort of check stuff out. There's other sorts of programs like this, and if you're into heat maps and user testing, depending on how much your budget is, you can spend a very large amount of money. But, you know, for $30 a month US for 10K uniques, it's a pretty good deal from the other stuff I've done. If you've got a really large volume, you're making a lot of money, you can go up the food chain to get a bit more. But very easy to use, very simple. I found it pretty useful. They also have looks different in mobile, I guess. Well, they've got a nice sort of like a 10 questions, what you should do to start to check stuff out, see where people are dropping off. And the guy's been doing it for a while. They've got good tech support. So yeah, I'd recommend checking it out.
You're almost at time, but I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What does this give you that, say, Google Analytics doesn't give you? Looks to be a little bit easier to use?
Infinitely more. Like Google Analytics, like you can't see what people are really doing. I mean, they have basic real time, but what you can do is like, here's your landing page. You want them to convert. Sorry. Here's your landing page. You want them to convert. Well, you can actually see in desktop, mobile, multiple recordings on that. How long do they stay? Do they go to the left? Do they go to the right? Do they click on this? Do they click on that? How long do they stay on the page? Where do they go on the page? The heat maps, Google theoretically has it, but I find often that's sort of like crap. User comment?
Oh, that's 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes. Great.
But I would highly recommend that everybody gets some form of heat map tool. It's not this one, but stuff you can find far more.
Trying to be helpful.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I want to do it.
All right, Eli, come on down. You had to sit quiet for so long.
All right, I know. So it's just torture, really.
Let me drop the mic.
Sure, thank you. So, hi there, my name is Eli. I'm one of the co-organizers of NetSquared Vancouver. And if you're anything like me, you probably spend an enormous amount of your day typing. Hands up, people who type from time to time. Yeah, I thought that might be the case. And I bet that a lot of what you type is extremely similar to the thing you typed half an hour ago. So I want to show you 2 things that I do that basically help reduce some of the typing I do, and just sort of our little productivity tips. So the thing I love most in the world, and the thing that makes me feel most magical, is an app called TextExpander. And what it does is something that's probably quite similar to people who have used Microsoft's auto correction tools within Word. But this gets to work in all apps across everything. So a good example of that is you're like, basically, what do you type all the time? So I'll show you a couple examples. So for me, here's things I type all the time. I have to type my phone number all the time anytime I'm filling out a phone number. So I just go like phone, P-P-H-O-N-E, and it auto-expands. Or I have a ridiculous last name, which is Vandergiesen. I don't want to have to type that for my email address all the time. So I just go Eli at V, and it spits out the rest. Or actually, Eli, T for my other work addresses, and it does it boom. And all of that's to save me a couple characters a couple times a day, or save me all kinds of grief. Or say I'm putting together an invoice. Well, then maybe I'm just going to have it type out my home address. So you can do multi-line things. Or maybe you got a URL which is ridiculous, which you always want to type out. So I'll just type Europe, and it spits out this whole scheduling link here. But it also works for big, long emails that you might need to send out to a volunteer. So say you're going to say like, I'm going to write, say, the email that I'd send out to new organizers who I want to become volunteers. And you can get it to spit out a whole pile of characters. And you can even get it to then automatically drop the cursor in a particular character. So you can be like, dear person's name. Anyways, you can get very sophisticated, but this is just a basic version of just like, save yourself some typing things. But some things you don't type all the time and it's not worth getting into the system. The other thing you can do is use something that I love using, which is, and there's many variants on it, but the one I use is called basically CopyBot. And what it does is it basically creates a clipboard that is, instead of a 1-item clipboard, it's a 100-item clipboard. So now basically you say like, oh, let me copy and paste. Say someone sends you an email and there's like their first name, their last name, their email, their phone number. And instead of going back and forth, you just say like, oh, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to copy that, and then maybe I'm going to copy that. And then you go and click, instead of normal Command V, I just go Command Option V in this case. And then it shows like, oh, I want to show, here's the other things I've copied, images or other things like that. And you say like, okay, that's great, but what if actually it does it, oh, I just want to do the third one. Hit 4, boom, and it just spits it out. And now it like copies that thing in here. Or, oh, actually I want that thing I did a while ago. Oh, there's that email address. Boom. Or you're like, what was that again? You can also even type to autocomplete. So you're like, I want the one that said Europe in. Ah, there it is. Boom. And so that's one way you can just start like moving a lot faster by taking the things you've typed already, and instead of retyping it or going to another document, you can just sort of have it all there at your fingerprints. And the last thing, do I have time, Chad?
Yeah, you got it.
Cool. Is the other thing you can do is, of course, sometimes you're on your phone and you're like, yes, but I don't want to type out that big, long, ugly thing because I don't really remember it and it's hard to cut and paste. So the other thing you can do with this case is it actually can bring out basically on your iPhone and on Android, you'll get basically this idea. You can install other keyboards. And so in this case, what you can do basically is install a keyboard that is this text edit thing. So I would just go in and say like, oh, I want to type in that stupid ugly thing, but I don't remember exactly what that URL was. So in any application, you just go into like the keyboard chooser thing, hold down and say like, oh, I don't want to do the emoji one. I want to do the TextExpander one. And then from there, then you just go in and type that shortcut just like you would on your computer where it would be, and it's all synced out, and boom, it spits it out. And so that way when someone sends you a WhatsApp thing, you're like, I want that scheduling link, but damn it, I don't remember what it is. This is your way just to instantly pull that out even when you're on the go. So that's my little tricks that I use in my day-to-day life. This is the other trick, which is, of course, you can hook your little phone up to a VGA or HDMI adapter, which means next time you're on the road doing a presentation and you don't really want to bring your laptop, you can actually just hook it into your phone and just go into like, you know, your PDF viewer, open it up and just go like, next slide, next slide, next slide, and do it all from your phone and look like a super wizard.
What's the name of that?
Say the name of them.
Yeah, so the TextExpander is the Macintosh version. I think there's also a PC version, but if you just look for like, if you're on the PC, like TextExpander PC version, it's software that I'm so happy to pay them money for. I'm like, oh yeah. They're like, they moved recently from like once off page to like now a $3 a month subscription, and I didn't think for a second, I'm like, yes, you should take more of my money because this is worth it. It really makes my life so much easier and my carpal tunnel much more manageable. So that's what I had to do for my little demo today.
What's the name of that VGA?
This is just the standard dongle-y thing. You would just go like, whatever your phone is to VGA or HDMI adapter. Amazon will spit something out. It'll probably cost $20. It'll probably work really well.
You use that software to use that thing?
Oh, so this thing doesn't need any special software. The phone thing? Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do actually have, if anyone that uses an Android-based device like me, I probably don't want, but I also have an HDMI one for you too if you got an Android-based device you too. Thank you, Eli, for saving us all thousands of keystrokes. Cheers. What are we doing time? We got time. Does anyone else have anything they would like to come up and show? All right, come on down, buddy.
I am really amazed with everybody's presentations because I use a lot of technology and it's really overwhelming, especially how fast things are accelerating. Older people I talk to all the time too, like everybody I'm sure can relate. A few years ago you would get a device and you get frustrated with it. You know, well, why doesn't it do what it's supposed to do, right? So these things are changing. I find Apple products are just making things more accessible to people. So my name is Michael. I'm Anishinabe from Ontario. So our traditional territories are Ontario, Manitoba, Minnesota, Illinois, quite a large area. We're the largest linguistic group in North America. So I'm going to try and make this as quickly as possible. I am an indigenous person. My father's Mexican, which comes from the word Mexica. It was the name of the valley where Mexico City is. They're another group of indigenous people. So our lands are rich in resources. People came, certain economic systems came to our territories, and they had ways of not such healthy ways and friendly ways of getting access to those resources, right? So through unethical business practices, we were marginalized, put on reserves. South African apartheid was actually modeled after Canada's reserve system, where Nelson Mandela did 27 years in prison. Canada was very effective in coming out looking like a peacekeeper after clearing the land for development. So anyways, that being said, left us in a pretty precarious position. Our cultures, which are thousands of years old, now are on the verge of extinction in some areas, particularly along the West Coast. So we have to be innovative now, right? It's a race against the clock to get young people to start picking up their cultures again. And so that's what we're doing, and we're having fun while doing it. And part of that is through screen printing, which is one of the most fun and effective ways of just engaging in art, and it's healing. Anybody can do it. I thought I could only draw stick men up until recently. And then turns out, like somebody else was saying, they stole other people's designs. I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. I just took these images off the internet. Tupac Amaru was actually a native person from Peru. He was one of like the last traditional chiefs. He was quartered by the Spaniards like William Wallace was by the British. They cut off his head, quartered his body, whatever, right? It's just how they did things back then, I guess. So anyways, and the headdress also has meaning to the Lakota, the Sioux people. We call them Sioux. It means enemy, actually, in one of our languages. So they kind of misunderstood that. But how do you get kids who are just so marginalized and angry? How do you get them to learn about these complex issues? You make it fun for them, right? So screen printing enables us to do that. So we can discuss complex social justice issues, environmental issues, culture, but make it fun. Because these kids will tell you to F right off, right? Well, first of all, having the experience. Like I was locked up, I was in treatment centers, I went through that system, right? And I lost a lot of peers. A lot of them still continue to die. And I was one of the few that made it out. So I often wonder, like, hey, wait, so what are how can we address these issues, right? And so trying a lot of things over 10 years, we found a few things. And so in the background here, so screen printing is one way. And like I said, come check out our studio. Bring a shirt. I want you guys to experience it yourself, man. It's amazing. And so part of the other thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with West Coast cultures. They have two colors that are predominant here, red and black, right? So I don't know, I used to collect comic books. And Deadpool, I always loved Deadpool. Before these guys were famous, I used to read all this stuff. So I took I'll show you a photo I took. This is just with I had this guy sitting on my shelf for a while. And one day I don't know what my wife was doing. She had the kitchen door, and I was like, I was just walking on my phone. I was like, I want to take a picture of this guy. And so she had a painting that was actually in the background. So I think that was the original photo. But anyways, using Photoshop, which is I learned Photoshop through this when I was making my crude images. Right? That was the original photo, and then isolating, you know, we end up with all these different images, and because of technology, somebody was saying they're showing an app, right, or stuff that if you're not a graphic designer, you know, there's all kinds of stuff, like Adobe Spark. I use a lot of Adobe products. So this is automatically fitted to fit your Facebook cover profile photo. So these things are becoming, it's making technology accessible, making social media accessible. You can put out advertisements, and they move, the pictures move within the advertisements too, right? So I couldn't even do this stuff a few years ago, you know? I grew up, I was impoverished. I had nothing new, nothing. You know, and within the span of a few years, I was able to accelerate really quickly, right? And so now actually, we're actually creating a lot of the trends, you know? I'm not taking ideas, now that we have access to resources and stuff like that, technologies, we're creating a lot of the tools, learning tools ourselves. And like I said, we're having fun while doing it. So that was, I don't know, these are just different filters and stuff like that, but Deadpool, he's actually the color of a First Nations, red and black. So I'm gonna slap a cedar hat on him, some abalone buttons, and he's gonna he's gonna have this critical discussions with Captain Patriotic, AKA Captain America, about how, like, the land issues, you know? So we're gonna explore complex social justice issues and complex trauma, and we're gonna bring it, and the young people, they're so engaged by this. This hasn't even been done before, you know? So these kids, they're intelligent. You know, they just don't like they don't like workshops. I hate workshops, you know, and I'm staff. So we're just bringing this kind of stuff, and like I said, we're having fun while doing it. And I don't know, I didn't have another guy, so all I had was a Toadstool from my Nintendo Wii. So I kind of like shoved the gun in his hand, AK-47. But like I said, the kids love it, right? And it teaches them computer skills. You know, we're doing stuff around audio. Today we just met with these guys from the World Conservatory. We're going to be making our own music. We're doing all kinds of indigenous storytelling. You have to understand that back in the day, not that long ago, this was illegal. We couldn't speak our languages. There's elders here that talk about they couldn't speak the languages in the streets and stuff like that. We couldn't wear these clothing. Well, I couldn't like this. This was all illegal, you know? So anyways, we're just bringing it back, and we're having fun while doing it. And it's not just us. There was other people who were put under the same pressure. The Doukhobors, the Ukrainians, stuff like that. Any Eastern Europeans, same thing. They had their cultures beat out of them. So how do we address these issues and not make it so heavy? You know, I'm not here to make people feel bad. And if you feel a little nervous about some of the subject content, good. That's a good thing, because you have a conscience, you know, and I think that's a sign that you're a good person, you know, so it's an indicator. Hold on to that feeling and let's explore it, you know, let's heal and grow. When our ancestors, they didn't have that opportunity, but we have that opportunity now. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Miigwech. Oh.
What's the name of the organization?
Vancouver Aboriginal Community Policing Center, but our screen printing organization is called Trapline Designs. So like I said, 268 Keeper Street, 4th floor. So I'll be... I'll come to the thing, but I don't drink the fire water.
Fair enough.
We're getting close to time, but I know there's still at least one more person that wants to show something. I can feel it. I feel it right here. We got anyone else have something they want to share? Oh, Ashley's going to double dip. And you went first too. Well, yeah, okay. So we'll be the sandwich. You and I went first, and then I'll allow you to go, and then I will wrap this thing up.
Unless
okay?
anybody else wants to go, I'm okay just sitting here.
Doesn't make you too fancy. Just like, what's something you do all the time? You're like, this makes me so amazing.
Yeah, oh, here we go.
Nice.
There you go. All right, we have time for both of you, I promise. Double promise. All right, share your name, and where you're from, and what you're going to show us. Whatever's easiest for you.
Hi, my name is Mema. I am not a part of any organization, but I'm a very big fan of technology. One thing that I'm kind of obsessed with is being more productive and seeing where my time is going. So there's a really great app called Toggle. I don't know if anyone's used it before, but it just keeps track of what you're doing, which is awesome. Okay, cool. I just recently got unemployed, and I use this with my work, but essentially the idea is here, if I go on Google Chrome, it just keeps track of everything that you're doing. You have projects and little folders that you can do, and it's completely free. The free thing is super easy. I'm going to quickly sign up. Just to show you the interface. And if anyone uses Google Chrome as well, you can download go into the web store and just get the I forget what it's called. The add-on or whatever, yeah. And then just keeps on track of everything. And the cool thing that I really like about it is it also, after 25 minutes, tells you to take a break, which is really nice. So if anyone uses the Pomodoro method, that works. So it's really simple. You just say you're working on emails, you can create a product, and then you just start. And then you can go back and go forward. So you can sort of see where your time is going. They also, if you are selling your time to someone else, you can give them a timesheet as well afterwards, but I think that's something that's added on. So that is one product I like to use.
And how much does it cost?
This is free. There are additional things that you can add on, but for a lot of free programs, I find don't necessarily want you to use the free version, but this is one of those ones where I think it's very thorough, and using it, the free version is amazing. So
can you group the things to different projects?
Yeah, you can
as well?
create a project. You can have it assigned to different clients, which I think is really interesting. And you can also do it for your team as well. I used it just personally for myself, but if you can sort of see how much time you're dedicating to a project as well. There's a lot of functionality. You can tag things, so even if it's not associated with a certain project, you can create labels. There's also workspaces, and they have a very awesome support space as well. And there's also reports, which is really cool.
Awesome.
Yes, love it. Actually, I just want to offer a testimonial of time tracking. So back when I was at the Davis Suzuki Foundation, we had basically the creative services 5-person team running on the web, email, all doing internal facing support work. And of course, everyone says oh, we can never get time from those jerks. Why are they never able to do my design work, my email campaigns? And so eventually we're just where is our time going? So we set it up for our team, just internally, not tied to any external billing thing, not tied to anyone's paycheck, but just because we were curious. And at the end of that, we started to figure out one, half of our time is just spent on organizational busy work, not on any particular project. That was the first real lesson we learned. But the other thing we learned is 2 of the programs are taking up all of our time. And that was really powerful knowledge, because that wasn't just anecdote, but now we have numbers to say 32% of our time is going towards the development and fundraising team. And then we can take that report to that team and say, what do you want to do about that? And so what they did was we will go halfsy and hire a new person and allow them the capacity to properly serve us. And going at people with numbers changed the conversation from they're not just a connection complaining group, but actually here's data behind their kvetching and complaining, and now you actually can maybe start talking to people about properly allocating your work, your time. Even if you do it for yourself, and then just have conversations with your boss after 3 months, and say I just did this thing. Look what I discovered. Guess what? This person wasting my time. Why are we doing this? It's really helpful.
Yeah, I use it for the same thing. At my old job, there was a lot of feelings of I'm really grumpy because I feel like I'm being asked a lot, but it ended up completely changing the way that we communicated as a team. So I completely agree with that sentiment of having data and having numbers and using that to actually make a business case towards your needs and have a better understanding of what you're doing is really powerful. So I would strongly recommend using this.
And no money.
Yes, that's my favorite number. Free. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So
could I say one thing?
I'm sorry, ladies first, Sam.
Oh,
sorry.
Just give people money. Just for every Canadian.
Yeah, go anyways.
May 31st, before this May 31st, go to logcard.ca, logcard.ca, just fill in your first name, last name, and email. And then you get $25 at the end. before the May 21st, you got $25 go to silver store to buy your big turkey.
Oh, this is the bread scandal.
Yeah, one wife, one
Too much
buy,
wheat.
2 wives of 50. That's
All
it.
right.
Come on, stay.
All right, that's a tough act to follow, but I like you anyways. Come on down. So, what are you going to share with us, right? What are you going to share with us?
Oh, I'm gonna share a website and GIMP, which is photo editing. I haven't really used GIMP much, but I remember I used it once for my HTML class, and yeah, it's a really useful tool. And also, you've probably heard of DuckDuckGo before. It's a web browser, and it's like a private web browser, sort of. At least it doesn't track you like Google does. So I use that all the time. So it's really useful. It's exactly like Google. And you can also add it to your browser as well. And there's also a few shortcuts too. So you can look up and if you want to look it up in Google but have an encrypted search, you just type G!! And it goes to Google for you. But yeah, that's one of them. And also, GIMP is free. So.
And what does GIMP do for somebody?
I don't remember. But I think it's exactly like Photoshop.
Yeah, it's exactly like Photoshop.
Yeah. I just never use it. I used it once. Yeah. I just remembered it. So yeah, that's it. Super short. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We still have 10 minutes. You got one?
Oh,
So I'll do a quick
it's
fire
kind
round.
of my like super dorky one.
It is the technology show and tell.
Well, this is not technology. That's okay. I also realized I did not introduce myself last time.
Well, you
I
get
just
a
got
second
really
chance.
ugly, right? So I'm Ashley. I'm from Options for Sexual Health. I'm also one of the volunteer organizers for NetSquared Van. Yay! So I'm going to show you. Actually, can I get you to help me find the?
Got it. You talk, I'll say.
Okay. So at this fancy NTC conference that we were talking about earlier, I actually did the most untechnology related thing, which is called Sketchnotes. But they found a way to link it all together, and I actually really love this for those of us who have kind of the tech speak or who work in communications. You know that role where people kind of look at you and they're like, well, what is your job? And you're like, I do all these things, and you can't explain it to them because they don't get it. So this is kind of where Sketchnotes comes in. First question that I have for you all is, who in here is that person who writes down every single word that somebody's saying during a presentation or a learning session? Nobody? It's just me? Okay. Who's the person here who relies on the handout or the PowerPoint notes getting handed out at the end of the session? A few of you? Okay, cool. So, and who here takes no notes ever at any session or presentation ever? Do you just have like a great photographic memory? I'm really jealous. Okay.
Someone else has always taken the notes, and I can just find it later.
Awesome. Okay, I'm that person. I used to be the person who would get upset if I could not capture every word that somebody was saying, and it made me actually pay less attention to what was happening, which meant that I was not being an effective learner, I was not being an effective coworker, I wasn't able to share information. So I found out about something called Sketchnotes. And this is kind of if you forget everything I say, this is one of the resources. And I've got just up here a couple of my demonstration ones that I did. The idea with Sketchnotes is that you're, sorry, instead of trying to capture everything, you're visually capturing what people are saying. And this book actually goes through a bunch of different ways that people do write down the Sketchnotes. But what I found is that when I'm writing and drawing pictures, using different colors, I actually retain a lot more information, and I'm not trying to capture everything. And also, when I go back to talk to my boss and say, here are some of the things I learned, I can actually show her my Sketchnotes and show her the different points and how to connect the dots, and she gets it. My coworkers understand what I'm talking about. So it's been really nice. Now, I'm not a professional sketchnoter, but I do have some that I'll show you. Okay, so they're kind of backwards. So this is from one of the presentations at NTC, and I was able to capture a lot more. I still write a lot. I'm still a big writer, but I was able to capture some of the stories. And the little cartoon, that's me. I've got a princess crown. And just flow through what we were doing a lot better, capture the main points, but not write down every single word they were saying, and it made a huge difference to how I was able to capture information and share. Okay, so those are some of mine. Getting a little bit better, a little bit less wordy. But I also want to show you, so this is one of the people who taught the led the presentation, led the session at NTC, and his name's Greg Lee, and he's amazing, and if you look him up on Twitter, I'm sure he'd be really flattered, but he does post a lot of his Sketchnotes, and he's got, you can see, like, this is one of his technology ones, but if somebody looks at this and he's explaining it to them, they're going to be able to follow it. They're not going to get lost. If they're sitting in a session about project management or project culture, they're not going to be able to maybe get all of the information, but when the communications person sits there and makes something that's easy to follow, it makes it a lot easier for people who are non-tech to digest. And there's just one more of this. So if anybody's interested in being somewhat of a cartoonist, but you actually don't have to know how to draw anything other than a line, sketchnoting may be for you. I will leave this book up on the desk and you can take a peek if you're interested. So that's how the non-technology can become technology friendly and the technology friendly can become non-technology friendly. Thank you.
Yeah. Can we use a Google capture and then translate the image into the text?
I'm not sure. What I do know is that a lot of people are using different things. Thank you. A lot of people are using different ways to do their sketch notes. So they're doing things like they're writing on paper, taking pictures and sharing them on Twitter, Google Drive, etc. Some people are using the new Apple iPad with the Apple Pen, but that's a little bit too fancy for me. So I just use paper and felt pens and then take pictures and send them.
Thank you.
And there is a local Vancouver SketchUp meetup group as well, run by Jason Toll, a past speaker along the way. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up for you guys with one more show and tell, and this is your final chance to participate for do the community updates here. So, while all these fancy people, actually, could all the presenters just stand up, and we're all going to give them a hand for taking some of their time and being brave to actually share their brains with us. So presenters, stand up. Everyone else, give them some love. They made this happen. All right.
Now you're stuck in Sketchnotes forever.
Is there any way out with
press
that?
escape.
There we go. See, escape from
Okay. So the final thing I'm going to show, and something that was kind of running in the background here, is a project called Poll Everywhere. So it's like a voting tool. It allows you to make polls and use it with live audiences of people or online. So I've made one for our little event here today. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull out your fancy little phone, and you can go to pollev.com/net2van. I'm going to skip for now. There we go. So what we have here are different options of what people sort of showed here today. So I have a book for the big prize winner. So this is a chance for you to sort of vote and say which tool you think you're going to take back to your organization. So it's pollev.com/net2van. You should be able to do it through your browser. And in real time, so I will do one here, for example. For me, this Hotjar thing, I just launched a new website. I have no idea how anyone's using it. So I'm going to click on that, and that has one vote. I have the master display on mine here. I'll flip the screen here in a sec. So pollev.com/net2van, and you can choose which tool you're going to take back and go along the way. And they win a big fancy book. Give you a minute to do that.
I don't think I did it, but you can look at it. Or your book.
No, you can totally skip the registration. You do not need to pay $14. They've changed the interface the last time you used it, so you can skip the registration.
How do we get a prize if we don't register? Still work?
I promise it'll work. You vote, yeah, so what I'll do is I'll log in up here on Eli's computer. So wholelab.com.
No, actually,
Yeah, I love those
really
notes.
like the SEO.
Those notes are awesome.
That was cool. I feel like there's some solid nerding out that can happen with it.
You guys just want to say, if you guys need insurance or anything like that, all proceeds go to the youth program. So you get more impact, more social impact for your dollars.
Can I buy an Oscar shirt like that?
Yeah, you could go to our space, $20, one free, one design. Like I said, it all goes back to the youth, keeping a space open for young people. And not just Aboriginal youth, but any youth who have.
So we can buy shirts straight up, but we can also, you recommend we bring our own shirt with us?
Yeah, just I want you to have experience with these kids and how healing that is, right? But if your organization needs shirts, if you guys need help with a placard or anything designed for you.